The following is a weekly weather briefing from your National Weather Service office in Spokane, Washington. My name is John Fox. I'm a meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Spokane. We're going to take a look at the week of weather ahead. So we're continuing with a fall-like weather pattern. Beginning tonight through Tuesday, we're looking at widespread rain across much of the inland northwest. By the time we get to Tuesday night and into Wednesday, that threat of rain will begin to decrease. We're also looking at very warm temperatures as well. Wednesday night and Thursday night, we get a reprieve from that dry conditions and we go into another round of widespread rain, however probably not as heavy. And just in time for the Friday through Sunday period, we're looking at drier conditions with somewhat cooler temperatures. So first of all, a look ahead at last week. What we saw was a very wet week across the inland northwest. This is the amount of precipitation which fell between October 27th and November 2nd. It was quite wet across much of the inland northwest. You see these areas in blue and purple. Saw anywhere from 2 to 4 times the normal amount of precipitation falling during that week-long period. And again, much of the inland northwest saw rainfall amounts similar to that, however not quite to the 2 to 4 times normal, generally about 1.5 to 2 times normal. The only locations which didn't receive as much precipitation as normal would be across the far northern tip of Idaho, northeast Washington, and a small portion of the Columbia Basin. Now, into the current weather regime, what we're looking at is a very broad plume of atmospheric moisture. We call this an atmospheric river, and it's represented here by this satellite picture. We're looking at this feature which extends from the southwest of Hawaii all the way northeast across the eastern Pacific, pointed into Vancouver Island and the northwest corner of Washington. It's that atmospheric river which is going to deliver our weather over the next 18 to 24 hours. So, there again is the atmospheric river. It's become a well-established over the eastern Pacific, and it'll slowly track eastward again during the next 24 hours or so. These rivers can produce periods of moderate to heavy rain if they linger over a region for a significant amount of time. So, looking at the forecast then of the atmospheric river, this is just another representation where you see these bright blues and yellows and oranges. That indicates where the forecast models think the atmospheric river is going to go. And by Monday evening, we're looking at it pointed into the Cascades and into eastern Washington. The river will move across the Cascades tonight and reside over the area through Tuesday evening. We're looking at periods of rain, some of which could be heavy at times, especially near the Cascades during this period. By the time we get to Tuesday afternoon, that atmospheric river begins to sag a little bit south of the inland northwest, moves kind of toward the Washington-Oregon border, and by that time we would expect to see the rainfall amounts begin to taper off a little bit. By this time, as the atmospheric river sags south, we're looking at a cold front to push through the Cascades, and this will slowly end the threat of rain from west to east across the area. It'll also bring some gusty winds into the region, and we'll look at how strong those winds are expected to be. So from a rainfall standpoint, here's a map of what we expect to fall from tonight through Tuesday night. You can see widespread rainfall amounts. Areas in green are where we expect to see rainfall anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. Near the Cascades, we're expecting to see rainfall amounts that heavy, and near the crest, we could see amounts anywhere from 1 to 2 inches of rain, and as you get just west of the crest, we're expecting even heavier amounts than that. So pretty heavy rainfall event for sure. However, most of the inland northwest will see rainfall amounts ranging anywhere from 0.15 of an inch to about 0.4 of an inch, with the Columbia Basin seeing the lightest amounts, say from Wenatchee to Moses Lake. So at this time, we're expecting most of the rain to fall from tonight through Tuesday. From an impact standpoint, we're not expecting anything significant as snow levels remain above all of the mountain passes. In fact, the only areas which will see snow are going to be the highest mountains, and really we're not expecting enough rain for flooding as well. Taking a look at the wind gusts, by the time we get into Tuesday afternoon and that cold front tracks across the Cascades, we're looking at a breezy period. The conditions will develop beginning in the morning near the Cascades and spreading across the Columbia Basin, Palouse, and Spokane area by afternoon, and those winds will continue into the early evening hours. The areas with yellow would see wind gusts anywhere from 30 to 35 miles per hour, but in general, winds anywhere from 20 to 30 miles per hour across much of the Columbia Basin, Palouse, Spokane area, and in the Cascades over the ridge tops, we're expecting to see winds anywhere from 40 to 50 miles per hour. From an impact standpoint, those wind speeds are too light to produce much of any impact other than blowing whatever leaves remain on the trees at this point, and that's pretty much it from an impact standpoint. Now, taking a look ahead, the atmospheric river position for Wednesday begins to retreat well off the coast. What it does is it leaves the inland northwest pretty much in between systems. It retreats from the area. Drier conditions will most likely prevail from Wednesday into early Wednesday night. The temperatures should warm significantly over most of the area. By the time we get into Wednesday night or Thursday, the atmospheric river then begins to push once again into the inland northwest. But the thing to note is the bright oranges and bright yellows, which we saw before, which would indicate copious amounts of atmospheric moisture, really don't pop up this time. We're just looking at light blue colors, which would indicate there's a lot less atmospheric moisture to work with. So, what that means is the potential for rainfall looks like it'll be considerably less than what we're going to see tonight and into Tuesday. However, it's enough to bring us widespread precipitation across much of the area. So looking at the Wednesday night through Thursday period, here are the precipitation estimates, and as you can see, we're expecting significantly less rainfall than we're expecting with the Monday night Tuesday system. In fact, most locations will see less than a quarter inch of rain between that Wednesday night and Thursday night period, with the heaviest amounts again occurring near the Cascades and perhaps over extreme northeast Washington and North Idaho. But even in those areas, we're expecting less than an inch of rainfall at this time. So by the time we get into the end of the work week and into the weekend, the atmospheric river again retreats to well off the coast, or it pushes into northern or central British Columbia, and what that'll do is it'll give us a strengthening ridge pattern, which will result in drier weather over most of the inland northwest. It'll also lead to some cooler conditions as well as some drier air moves into the area. So if we take a look at the temperatures expected through the work week and into the weekend, for the most part we're still looking at temperatures well above normal for this time of year. The red line equates to the high temperature forecast for the next 7 days at Spokane. The normal low temperatures or normal high temperatures would be represented by this red dotted line. So as you can see, temperatures are remaining well above normal for this time of year. They're expected to peak sometime on Thursday, about 10 degrees above normal. Even more remarkable is the fact that the low temperatures forecast for this week are actually higher than what the high temperatures should be this time of year. As you can see, low temperatures forecast in the lower to middle 40s throughout Thursday, and then by the time that cold front moves through by Friday into Saturday and Sunday, drier air will result in some cooler nighttime temperatures, but still remaining above normal. By the time we get into next week, we're looking at perhaps somewhat of a pattern change. At least one of the model solutions is suggesting that the polar jet is going to poke into extreme northeast Washington and northern Idaho and move then into southwestern Montana. This pattern is conducive for bringing much colder air into the region. The question is, how far east will that cold air go, or how far west will it go? Will it be able to cross over the continental divide? And at this point, we really don't think so, but it is a possibility, and we'll certainly look at it closer as we get into the week. I think the main impacts at this point will be seeing some breezy northeast winds by the time we get into Monday, and certainly if you're looking at locations to the east of the continental divide, say over western Montana and central Montana, there's a possibility of some significant snows developing by early next week. At this point, again, we're not expecting much impact over the inland northwest, but it certainly bears watching as it gets closer to fruition later in this week and into the weekend. So taking a look briefly at the 8 to 14 day outlook, from November 9th through the 13th, we're looking at much better chances of above normal temperatures across all of the western United States. We're also looking at better than normal conditions, or better than normal chances of dry weather over the inland northwest as well. So again, that's it for the weekly weather outlook. Stay informed on our latest forecast via our website, our Facebook page, Twitter, or on YouTube. And that's it for the weekly weather briefing. Thank you for attending, and we will talk to you next week.